Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everybody. My topic is going to be enterprise blueprint for open source adoption. I think you have listened to many topics since yesterday where the open source is being adopted. You listened about policies, you listened about operating systems like Linux, you listened about databases, you listened about the middleware like Red Hat and so on. Now my topic is going to be a layer on top of all these things, a layer on top of the middleware. It's a business application layer. So I'll be focusing few points in terms of what is available for enterprises to consider open source for business applications, and then how do you adopt it, what kind of formula you follow to adopt it. Let me start with this small video. See, most of you might have picked up the Elmo, the characters you have grown up when you were a kid. This particular site called Sesame Street, it's been televised in about 120 countries in more than 30 international versions, and it received around 109 Emmy Awards. So this particular company is leveraging open source. They were spending millions of dollars with a proprietary system called Vignette, and they migrated to open source equivalent software for content management and portals. So there are over 100 content managers who manage content on the website on day-to-day basis in terms of creating the videos, publishing to the TV stations, creating the DVDs to the children and toys and music and so on. And then there's around 150 terabytes of content. It's pretty huge content, out of which around 10 terabytes of content is served over the web. And as of 2007, there are about 80 million views per month coming to the site. Now look at the way these people have leveraged open source. They have been using traditional commercial proprietary software, paying millions of dollars over a period of almost 20 years. Now it is time for them to look at what is available in open source application software, and then they leveraged it in a way that is going to give them a lot of flexibility the way they create these programs for the children. And this is the open source stack used for this project. It's a Linux operating system, and then they migrated to MySQL, and then Apache, Tomcat, and then they used Alfresco for a digital asset management system. So basically, if you look at the title, it's basically the enterprise content management, digital asset management, and then portals, and then repository, actually all four of them. And then they were able to integrate with their existing system. So one of the beauty of the open source and open standards especially is you don't have to get rid of your existing proprietary software. If you're using the proprietary software, you don't have to replace everything. Pick up the areas which are painful, which are expensive, which are less flexible for you to change, and which are expensive for you to maintain. So you can pick up those areas, and you can start migrating the applications in a phased manner. That means you can pick up sections or the portions of your web infrastructure and migrating them into open source. And then open source and open standards helps you nicely integrating with your existing systems without replacing all of them as a whole. Yeah. Now, what they have used open source is for standardization. It's basically ability for them to modify and enhance the applications, which was not possible with Vignette, because if they want to change the behavior of the business application, they have to wait for about 8 to 9 months or 8 months to 1 year for Vignette to come and change the program for them and release a new version. With open source, they have ability of changing the program or changing the process they follow and bring up these programs very quickly into the market. So that was the advantage they have got. And they were able to integrate with their external systems they have in place, because these people, they are huge content aggregators, or they maintain a repository of the content, and they serve the content through many countries. So there are vendors in about 30 countries who use the content and create the localized content in that country. So what these people have created is a huge repository, and then created an open standards based API where anybody can connect to that repository and get the information in a more open standards way rather than a proprietary format. So for them, the system is interoperable. That means it is operating system independent. It can run on any operating system, Linux, Sun, IBM, Microsoft, any kind of operating system. It can run on any kind of database. That is how the open standards help them to do that. And also, it is scalable to millions of users. Every month, they get about 1.5 unique visitors coming to the site and about 80 million hits on the website. So that is the kind of traffic they manage, serving 10 terabytes of data. So for them, they used open source for standardization, not very much in terms of cost savings and all. They have huge budgets and everything in place. But what is important for them is standardizing the platform into an open standards based platform. That is what is their main motivation for Sesame Street. If you look at the healthcare, there's a company called Cross Country Healthcare. That's the largest provider of healthcare staffing services in the United States. And they also migrated from proprietary to open source. Now they use Alfresco as a document management system and JBoss, JBPM for the workflows. And they use a variety of tools for viewing the documents, annotations, manipulating the documents, and so on. Now, this is a typical architecture they used using open source. So they have lots of scanners. They get a lot of applications in the paper-based documents. So people submit healthcare applications in a physical paper. So they take all those paper documents, scan it through the scanners, digitize it, OCR it, extract the metadata, index it, and push it into the enterprise content management system. Okay. Now, they were using expensive software earlier to do the OCR indexing and moving. Now, after moving to open source allowed them with the API to integrate with scanners, basically the fax servers and the physical servers to push the documents into the system. And then they have basically the people who manage all these workflows through JBPM. And then they integrate with external systems. Iris on the right hand side, if you see, that's an external system, a proprietary system where they integrate through the web services and a standard API. Yeah. Now, what is the benefits for them is basically they have about 280 plus types of document types. For example, document type is a nature of the document you store in a content repository. For example, an application form for university admission is one type of document. A claim form in a bank is one type of document. In a healthcare application where you get a report, that could be one type of document. So they have around 280 different types of documents where you specify the metadata and so on. And they manage millions of documents within the system. And they have about 150 recruiters who use the system. And every day they use about 700 types of workflow approval processes to place this medical staff into various hospitals in the United States, being the largest healthcare staffing company in the United States. So for them, the biggest challenge is the workflow changes very, very frequently for them. So they tried all commercial workflow and business process management tools, and it is becoming very expensive for them because they have to pay the developers to change it. And the turnaround time, if the management decides to change a process within the healthcare system, it takes them almost a month for documenting the process, understanding it, coding it, putting it into the test environment, testing it, putting it into the production environment. The whole process is to take them almost a month. Now it's reduced to a day. So that is the kind of turnaround time they were looking at. So what they tried open source basically to gain operational efficiency. What kind of efficiency they can improve within their operations in the organization. So that is how they leveraged or used the open source for. So there is another company called Corsair. It's an e-commerce based company. You might have on the right hand side, you see on the top, it's a multilingual, multi-currency, multi-shop e-commerce website. So the way